call the meeting of the Long Beach Community College District Board of Trustees to order. This is the fourth Tuesday, the 24th in July, and as a matter of general interest, we changed the swearing-in date recently from May to July to align with the Long Beach Unified School District and the Long Beach City Council after the primary election was held on April 10th, 2012. We conducted a presidential evaluation in closed session, and I'm pleased to report that Superintendent President Oakley is still employed by the Long Beach Community College District.
Thank you.
Did a good evaluation. I would ask newly appointed Trustee Uranga to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please join me as we salute the flag of our country, and as we do so, please keep in mind that we have our men and women in the armed forces in harm's way. Thank you. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Madam Secretary, will you please call the roll? Here.
Vice President Uranga.
Present.
Member Bowen. Here. Member Clark. Here. Member Kellogg. Here. And Student Trustee Troya.
Here.
Superintendent President Oakley, do you have any welcome and introductions tonight?
We are hoping to acknowledge one of our retirees, Patricia Casca, but I don't see her. Has anybody seen Patricia?
No.
Okay, well, Patricia is retiring from Long Beach City College, and as we normally do, we wanted to honor her with a certificate of appreciation on her 35 outstanding years of service to the Long Beach Community College District. She served as instructional specialist, professor of basic adult education, also worked at Cal State Long Beach, and began her teaching career at Los Animas School District in Colorado. So please join me in congratulating Patricia. I know she's not here, but we want to make sure and honor her service with a certificate and with at least the acknowledgement of the board and all of you here today. So please join me in congratulating Patricia.
Thank you. That's it. I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes of June 26th.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Trustee Bowen, second by Trustee Clark. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Carries unanimously. We are now to the ordering of the agenda. At this time, Superintendent President Oakley will take over the meeting as acting chair until a new chair is elected, and in order to accomplish that, we're going to change seats.
Okay, thank you, Board President Otto. I guess my first act is to extend my contract. Sorry, I guess that wasn't on the agenda. Okay, well, as Board President Otto mentioned, we are going to be going through the process of appointing and certifying the elections of our new board members, as well as recognizing the new board president and vice president. So let's begin. First item on the agenda is item 1.1. It is recommended that the Board of Trustees appoint and seat Roberto Uranga as a member of the Board of Trustees of the Long Beach Community College District, representing Trustee Area 2. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
It's moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? All right. Congratulations, Mr. Uranga. Move on to item 1.2, the certification of election of member of the Long Beach Community College District Board of Trustees, Douglas Otto. The Board of Trustees is recommended the Board of Trustees receive and accept the certification of election results from the City Clerk of the City of Long Beach and declare the following person elected to the office of member of the Long Beach Community College District Board of Trustees for the following term commencing July 16, 2002 through July 18, 2016. Can I get a motion?
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Congratulations, Board Member Otto. Okay, we are moving on to item 1.3, the administration of the oath of office. So, let me get to item 1.3 here.
You don't have it. You just make the announcement.
Okay. All right. The first member to receive, to be sworn into office, to receive the oath is Trustee Roberto Uranga. Swearing in Mr. Uranga will be Senator Alan Lowenthal. So if I could ask Senator Lowenthal to come on up to the podium and come on up to the podium. Senator, yes, over there. I want to thank Senator Lowenthal for being here. For those members of the community who aren't aware, Senator Lowenthal represents the Senate District 27 and is also been a huge supporter of Long Beach City College. Authored SB 650, which is the College Promise Partnership Act. Is the author of SB 1456, the Student Success Act. Was also a big supporter of SB 1550, and is also running for Congress in the 47th Congressional District. So thank you for being here, Senator Lowenthal.
Thank you. It's an honor to administer the oath to my dear friend, Trustee Roberto Uranga. Roberto and I know each other for many, many years, 30-plus years. Usually when Roberto introduces me at some event like this, he ad-libs and ultimately embarrasses me. But that will not happen today. We're not going to do that. Today we're going to do it by the book. It's really a great honor to do this, Roberto. And so will you raise your right hand and repeat after me? I
Roberto Uranga,
do solemnly affirm
solemnly affirm
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith
that I will bear true faith
and allegiance
and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and to the Constitution of the State of California,
and to the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well
and that I will well
and faithfully discharge
and faithfully discharge
the duties upon which
duties upon which
I am about to enter.
I am about to enter.
Congratulations, you are now sworn in. No.
One more? You know, I left my notes on my desk over there, but it's okay. I just remember what I was going to say, and I had a 10-page document that I was going to go through talking about all the wonderful things that we have been doing here at City College. But first of all, foremost, I want to thank Alan for agreeing to administer his oath of office for me. He is absolutely correct that we do go back many, many years when he was a professor at Cal State Long Beach. And I was there at your wedding, by the way, at the Queen Mary, when you married your wonderful, beautiful wife, Debbie, and Mazel Tov again. It's been, I think, what was it, 94 or 95? 95. See, I'm not. July 22nd. Just congratulations. Happy anniversary, Senator, to you and your beautiful wife, Debbie. One of the things that I think we're looking at for City College is I've been here 12 years, entering into my 4th term. And one of the things that I really want to point out is that the college that I saw back in 2000 is not the college that I see today. There have been many, many changes, and I'm sure that there will be many, many more in the future. Because if there's any one way that we need to go, and that's to go forward. However, we are going to be facing a lot of challenges this year and for the next few years. And we've been facing those challenges. And as it always says, when you have a challenge, you have an opportunity. And we're also going to have a lot of opportunity to do a lot of good things. And we've already embarked on some of those opportunities today. We had our retreat this morning where we discussed what we're doing with our college pathways, with our access to success programs, what we're doing with economic and resource development. And I think that the college is heading in the right direction. And I think that given the leadership that we have, I have a wonderful board of trustees that I work with. Congratulations to my colleague Delgado on his election. For some reason, I got appointed. What the difference is, I guess I didn't have an election. I ran unopposed. For those of you who don't quite know why I'm appointed and he's reelected, it's because I did not have an opponent when I ran for my reelection, so I automatically get reappointed to the position that I now hold. And before I move on, there are obviously some very important people in my life that I need to introduce because as the job of a trustee, sometimes it takes me away from my family, and they hold the fort down while I'm gone. Not that I do any holding down of the fort anyway. When I'm at home, I'm always getting this list of honeydews every time I come back because I didn't do them before I left, so I have to do them again, and they always accumulate. But first and foremost, I want to introduce my wife, Tonya Reyes Uranga, former council member, the City of Long Beach, District 7. Tonya, want to stand up? My 2 sons, my pillars, my number 10, as I always call them, my flaco y muy gordito, my thin one and my little more robust one. Emiliano James Uranga and his date, Kelly. And Roberto Tomas Uranga and his date, Adrian. And obviously, I wouldn't come this far without some mentoring along the way from my nuclear family, from my brothers and my sister. And I have my sister here and one of my brothers, Maria Elena Uranga, and Aurelio Uranga Jr. He's the patriarch of my family. Now he's the oldest, and I am the youngest. So what you're seeing here are 2 generations, basically, because the age difference between him and me is they're 18. They basically thought that I was his son back in the days when I was growing up. So he has served as my surrogate dad when my dad passed away in 2000. So I want to thank again my family for joining me here this afternoon for this swearing-in ceremony. It's always great to have family, and my family has been very close to me and very meaningful. And again, I want to congratulate Doug and my board, and let's get the work that we need to do get done. Thank you.
Last piece of unfinished business for Trustee Uranga. Senator Lowenthal, we need your signature on the check.
I got the pen. Oh, blue pen? I want to witness this.
All right. That's it.
All right. Moving on to trustee of Area 4. Mr. Doug Otto, and administering the oath of office for Doug is his lovely wife, Frida Otto. So, Frida, would you come on up?
It is a great day for the Otto family today, and it is a real joy for us to be able to once again have my husband Doug Otto participate in this great college. As you can well imagine, Long Beach City College is a main topic of conversation around our household, so we are looking forward to many more conversations as the years go by over the next 4 years. So it's just a great honor for me to be able to do that. Doug, will you repeat the oath of office after me? I, Doug Otto, do solemnly swear that I will support and uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California, that I take this obligation freely, without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter. Thank you very much. You are sworn in.
Thank you, Frida. And it goes without saying how big of a supporter Frida has been to Long Beach City College as well. So thank you, Frida. Doug?
I want to say thank you to the board and the staff here at Long Beach City College. It's been a pleasure working with you all over the past 8 years, and I'm looking forward to 4 more years of good work here at Long Beach City College. Long Beach City College is a very special place to me. I went to school here and in many ways got started here. And as Roberto said, there are many, many challenges that we have in our future, but I thought the spirit of the retreat today sort of was indicative of the way that we're addressing the issues that we are confronting in these very, very difficult times, financially and otherwise. There's a feeling of teamwork. There's a feeling of camaraderie. People get along, and I think we have great leadership, and our superintendent-president has done great things since he assumed that job, and I'm looking forward to working with all of you. I too have my family here, and I want to introduce them. My wife Frida, you have met. Sitting next to her is my granddaughter Kate Hinchy, who flew down from Northern California today, and I like to think she did it just to come to this thing, but I think she's going to a volleyball camp tomorrow. And then my daughter, Katie. Katie just completed 2 years at Long Beach City College and is going to Cal in about It's the only bad decision I know she's ever made. That's because I went to Stanford. And my daughter Holly, who also went to Cal. Many of you have heard me say this before, but I was an undergraduate at Stanford, and the only thing I remember was that I took a 4-year class in hating Berkeley and USC. And I wrote my senior thesis on the theory of cognitive dissonance. I now have a wife who has a master's degree and a PhD from USC, and 3 daughters who will go to Cal. And so I understand the theory of cognitive dissonance much better than I ever did. So thanks for coming. I appreciate everyone here. This is a great place, and we'll try and do some good work over the next 4 years.
Thank you to both Trustee Otto and Trustee Uranga, and personally, it's a pleasure working and serving under you, and I look forward to working with you for 4 more years.
Thank you.
Can I do this now?
What's that? No, go ahead.
I just wanted to congratulate both Doug and Roberto for their election. I mean, it's had the opportunity to serve with many people, and they've been wonderful, strong advocates for the college, but also generally great people to be around and work for. And so it's been a real pleasure to be a member of this governing body and work with people of this quality. And so I congratulate you, but also on a very selfish standpoint, I like to work with people that I like. And you make it a lot easier when you were both elected. And also, in fairness, Alan Lowenthal is sitting out there, who Alan served with myself and Tom Clark on the City Council, and we were talking before about whether you agree or disagree with people, and you have political philosophies that may vary. I have to say, I mentioned this to Alan before, really enjoyed working with Alan because he was very respectful to people, and I've been very fortunate in my time in elective office with people like Alan, with Doug, Roberto, and so it's a real pleasure to serve again with you. And, you know, it gives you faith in elected officials, even with all the horrible things that go on with elections and how negative they can be, is when you actually know they're good people there. And I've had the real honor to serve with people like that. And so I just wanted to say, you don't get any opportunity to say thank you publicly, because you're usually beating each other up on political issues, but it's always nice to have this evening where I say, hey, thank you, and it's been my pleasure to serve with you during all the years, and for your friendship. Good luck, guys.
Any other comments? All right, moving on to item 1.5, the reorganization of the Board of Trustees. Pursuant to Administrative Regulation number 2015, annual organizational meeting of the board officers. Our July meeting is when we have our reorganization meeting of the board officers. I hereby open the floor for nominations for President of the Board of Trustees for the 2012-2013 year.
I nominate Roberto Uranga so he can be president of our organization as well as the national organization.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Hearing none, congratulations, Board President Uranga.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
Now, are there any nominations are there any nominations for the Vice President of the Board of Trustees for the Long Beach Community College District?
I nominate Jeff Kellogg.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Congratulations, Vice President Kellogg. I'll ask right now.
I'll do that.
Okay, item 1.6. We want to recognize the outgoing board president, Mr. Doug Otto. Doug has served as the board president for the 2011-2012 year. It's been a challenging year We've had a great many things happen during the year, and we've been fortunate to have his leadership throughout the year. So, Doug, will you please stand for a recognition of your service as president of the Long Beach Community College District Board of Trustees? And I have a plaque for you that I'd like to present. This is a little different. We usually give a plaque that has a gavel, but this year we felt called for something different. So there's a little quote here for Doug on this lovely little plaque. It says, "Some of the things that count the most are uncountable. Some of the things that are the easiest to count don't count for much." So Doug, thank you for making LBCC count. Congratulations on a great, great year. Picture time.
What was that? What was that he was?
And before I leave this position, I have two quick things that I would like to do. First, this is the last meeting, I believe, of our Academic Senate President, Janice Thompson. And Janice, we've got some flowers for you from the board. And also, I have some flowers for the board secretary, or at least the female board secretary, who has put up with me for the last year, barely, but we've become good friends and work well together. So, Jackie.
All right. Thank you, Board President Otto. Now I ask that the board members take their newly assigned seats, and I will take my regular seat. But before I do that, I need to do one thing. I want to do that all year.
Very nice. I didn't touch it.
I don't sit there. You like that seat? Then give me my seat.
Where do I got mine.
I don't know. Are the seats different? Mark, is your seat up higher or low?
Okay, do I just move here?
Is this yours? Go, Tom. Who picked his seat?
Well, Doug, as a new president of the board, I want to say that your leadership has been very important this past year. It's been a difficult year, but you hung in there.
All this time.
You guided this board over some difficult times, and your leadership was certainly well appreciated for the work that you've done. And you also raised the bar for me. So what does that mean for next year? I'm going to have to give roses to...
I think you'll have to get a little taller.
Oh, hey, I might be short, but I walk tall, so, you know, watch out. And carry a big stick right here. At this point, I guess we're going to be moving along with the agenda. If those individuals in the audience feel that they want a few minutes to leave, you can certainly are welcome to do so. And to my family, I'll catch up with you later. Yeah, they can see me in action. Item 1.7 is the appointment of board liaisons. I have here some appointments. I've discussed it with some of you, in fact, all of you, in terms of the various committees that I will be assigning to you this afternoon. For academic affairs, the liaison will be Doug Otto. For the executive committee of the Long Beach City Foundation is usually historically been the vice president of the board, so that would be Jeff Kellogg. For legislative liaisons, I have Mark Bowen and Tom Clark. For facilities construction, I have Jeff Kellogg and Mark Bowen. On the audit committee, usually it's the board, it's the president of the board, so that would be myself, Roberto Uranga. In the audit committee, I have also joining me on the audit committee would be Delgado, and the liaison with the Los Angeles County Committee on School District Organization. This is per California Ed Code Section 35023, and that'll be Tom Clark. Can I have a Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? None? Okay. We'll have by acclamation. For the appointment of a board, for the representative, for the representative to the Los Angeles County Committee on School District Organization, this does require a board action. So can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Okay, I have a motion and a second.
Point of order, I think, isn't the action to nominate somebody, not, we haven't decided who.
Isn't it the same one?
It is.
Well, this is 1.8.
It's-
the same one, but you need an action.
Yeah, the other one's.
This one needs a separate act. The other one was appointments. I'm sorry, it was my
Good.
mistake.
Too late to back out.
The boards is by appointments, and this one, however, requires action. So,
Yes, but for the Los Angeles County Committee on School District Organization, you didn't say who that's going to be.
I nominated Tom Clark.
Okay. Sorry.
Actually, it's listed on your appointments just for the benefit that it's continues the list, but
I
you
didn't
do need
realize
an
it was the
action.
same one that was also on the other page.
Okay. Any further discussion? Okay. Do you need a roll call?
No, I need to know who made the motion.
Who made the motion?
On
I
the
think it was
school
Delgado made the motion,
I did.
seconded by Jeff Kellogg.
Thank you.
Okay. Any more discussion on this item?
Clerk's the only one to vote against it.
Does this require a roll call, Madam Secretary?
No,
Okay.
sir.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, motion passes. Thank you. Okay, we are now at the item 1.9, Revised District Policy 2002, Health and Welfare Benefits for members of the Board of Trustees and Personnel Commission.
Move
This is
approval.
an action item.
Move approval.
I have a motion to approve and a second. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none, I'll take a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, motion passes. Item 1.10, Revised District Regulation 2002, Health and Welfare Benefits of Board of Trustees and Personnel Commission. This is an informative item. It appeared in your board book, so you can go ahead and read that at your leisure. Item 1.11, Revised District Policy 2003, Public Notice of Initial Collective Proposals. This is an action item.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Take a vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, motion passes. Thank you. And then item 1.12 is the actual regulations, and that's informative. Item 1.13, Revised District Policy 2004, Minutes and Records of the Board. This is an action item. Can I have a motion, please?
Approval.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Take a vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Item passes. Thank you. And then 1.14 is the actual regulations. And that's there for informative purposes. Item 1.15, Revised District Policy 2015, Annual Organizational Meeting and Board Officers. This is an action item.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Take a vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, motion passes. And item 1.16 is the actual regulation. And it's informative item. Item 1.17 is the revised district policy, board education. This is also an action item. Can I have a motion, please?
Move approval.
I have a motion, Tom Clark, a second by Kellogg. Any discussion? Take a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, motion passes. Item 1.18 is the informative item regarding the regulation of 2017. Item 1.19, revised district policy 2018, board self-evaluation. This is an action item. Can I have a motion, please?
Move approval.
Motion by Bowen, was it?
Yes.
Second by Clark. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll take a vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes. Item 1.20 is the district regulation itself on board self-evaluation for informative purposes. Item 1.21, new district policy 2027.
Move approval.
Board member compensation. Motion by Clark to approve. Do you have a second?
Second.
Second by Kellogg. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll take a vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, board passes. The motion passes, sorry. Okay, we are now at item 2, which is public comments on agenda items. Madam Clerk, Madam Secretary, do we have any?
No,
Okay, no cards. I will read that. Item number 3, report student trustee. Okay,
Hi. I'd like to apologize for not being very engaged at last month's meeting. Just moments before it started, I was informed that I was not going to be allowed to cast my advisory votes as is prescribed under our bylaws. And so I was stunned by that. This was after I had carefully studied all of the documents for hours the night before, to the point where I even called President Oakley on his cell phone to ask him where a document was that I couldn't find that was referenced. This is more than a job for me. It's more than just fluff on my resume. The decisions that we make are permanent, and they affect students and faculty and everyone profoundly in our community. I love this school, and I see this as one of my most important responsibilities. In this critical meeting, which is essentially the changing of the guard, it's an opportunity to take a change in direction. We need to focus on providing more transparency and openness, open dialogue, open debate. There's a lot of anger among students and faculty that this board seems oligarchical. Pretty much every vote that we have is unanimous, at least at every meeting that I've been to. And there's minimal debate. So it's difficult to know where your elected representatives stand when every decision is debated behind closed doors and you're not really given anything to reference as to where they stand on the issues. I really think we need to use our closed sessions more sparingly and, again, work towards more open dialogue. It's what everyone was elected to do. We're fortunate enough to live in a state that has a very strong open meetings law and in a country where we can freely express our views at any government meeting. And I think we need to honor that. We should be proud of it. It's far better to debate an issue and not settle it than it is to settle an issue without any debate. And it's time to cut through all of that, roll up our sleeves, and work towards solving the enormous issues that we're facing. These issues are far too critical to not be carefully considered and to not honor the great diversity of voices that we have in this community. I look forward to working with you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. I take your comments wholeheartedly. I totally agree with you in terms of the need for transparency. And believe me, just because of the item it might not be debated publicly, it does not mean that there is no disagreement on the board. If there is a debate, we know that we sometimes agree to disagree, but we look at the total mission. And I talked to Superintendent President Oakley that what I would like to see from here on out in every meeting is our mission statement up there, only because it is our mission statement that we have to abide by. It is what tells us how we move forward, what we need to keep our focus on, and that is the mission of the college and the mission of this board to keep students first, to keep the district first, and to make sure that we are abiding by those duties that we actually just got sworn into today to uphold and to abide by. I'm sure that as you progress and move forward as a student trustee, you also have to remember that you were elected by your student peers to sit on this board, and you are here to represent your students, those who elected you. There are going to be training opportunities as well to give you a better, perhaps more comprehensive orientation as to the role of the student trustee on the board. I encourage you to please participate in those trainings. One's coming up fairly shortly in August, provided with the California League of Community Colleges, the CCLC. There is also going to be other opportunities throughout the year to receive some additional training and also some exposure to other student trustees across not only California but in the country. There is going to be let me rephrase it. There's going to be a national congress in Boston, which I, at this point, welcome you and invite you to please join me in Boston. It is where I will be presiding as the chair of the National ACCT organization. And there are students that also attend that conference as well, and I think it would give you a good exposure and orientation as to what other trustees do nationally. And I welcome you and encourage you and certainly invite you if you have the time. It's mid-October. October 14th. Excuse me? 10th to the 14th. October 10th to the 14th, so you might want to check your school schedule, see if it allows you that opportunity to join us out there.
Yeah, I'm already going to the August
Good.
one,
Good.
and I'll definitely look into
Now,
that.
look at your schedule for the one in October, because again, it would provide you with a good exposure and educational experience to see what's going on around the country, not only with other community colleges and other trustees, but also with other students as well as they attend this conference as well.
May I have one more thing?
Sure.
It seems to me, the more that I learn, a lot of the issues that people have with the board are based on not necessarily accurate information. And some of them are valid, but I think the more that people are educated about what's going on here and about the issues, the more on your side that will be. And it's our responsibility. Okay. So.
Well, good. I mean, at least you're doing your homework, and I do want to reemphasize the fact that, when we are in executive session, many of the topics that we discuss are personnel related, which are basically in the realm of the board only. And when we are required to report out, we report out if there's an action taken. Other items were like today, for example, we had many action items today that were moved on and approved. We read our board books. We have any questions, we raise them. We don't, we go ahead and vote on them as they are. But again, look forward to working with you as well as we move forward. You have been assigned a mentor, Mr. Trustee Delgado. Feel free to call him. Any questions, anything that you might have when you get your board book. If you have a question about a certain item, feel free to call him, or feel free to call me as well if you want to get another viewpoint or another opinion as to what the item is, and we'll take it from there. So it's going to be an educational process for everyone here. Certainly it always is with a new student trustee, and I certainly am encouraged by your passion and by your willingness to speak, because that's what we like. We need to hear that, and anyway, we'll move forward. So thank you for those comments. Trustee Bowen.
Well, I just wanted to add regarding the disappointment over some of the issues that our student trustee wanted to vote on. I do recall very clearly just a couple months ago, I can't remember exactly how long, when we did adopt a new board policy on the issue of the student trustee voting. I did remember how I don't know exactly what the issues were that he wanted to vote on. I do remember we did specify that budget issues or things over personnel would be the exception. Personally, I think the more engagement we get from other people, I think the better, to diversify the opinions that come out from this side of the podium. So my preference would have been, that it would be that there would not be exceptions, but I still voted for it because I felt it was a step in the right direction of better engaging our student trustee.
Just so you know, Trustee Bowen, you're correct, but those exceptions are outlined in statute, not by the board. So there are items in statute that the student trustee cannot vote on.
You mean state law?
Yes.
Okay. But anyway, I was just thinking, it is just simply an advisory vote. It isn't binding, so, I certainly would, if he wants to speak up, let him. If the statute prohibits it from being officially recorded in the minutes, that's a different story, but, I just in the future would like to, see that to whatever extent within the law he can participate, I personally would like to encourage it.
Any other comments?
Me. Jason, I gave you today copies of all the board policies and regulations and state law concerning student trustees, and we talked about a lot of that stuff at my office when I had you down for lunch. So I assume you read that stuff, so you would know what you can vote on, what you can't vote on, according to state law. And I'm going to give you this copy of the Brown Act, which came from a seminar that I recently attended on Brown Act enforcement. And I think it'll give you a clear understanding of what the Brown Act is. For example, we couldn't go into closed session and talk about things that you can't talk about in closed session that are like on our agenda here. There are only certain specific things, but it's right here, and if you read it, I think you'll have a better understanding.
Okay. Thank you, Jason, for your comments. We are now at item 4, consent agenda.
Motion to approve consent calendar.
Second.
Okay. There's a motion and a second. Discussion. I think that what I would like to do, President Superintendent Eloy Oakley.
Yes.
If we could discuss item 5. Was that 5.2?
You pull it.
My motion will reflect that we approve consent calendar and to pull item 5.2 for discussion.
Thank you. Could we have a vote on all the agenda items under consent with the exception of 5.2? Have a motion? Oh, you already made the motion. I'm sorry. A second? Second. Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes. Okay. Item 5.2.
Yes, Board President Uranga, my understanding is the wish is to discuss one particular action item under 5.2, which is the
5.1.
I'm sorry, 5.1.
5.1, I'm sorry. Let the records reflect the correction, item 5.1, not 5.2.
Yes, that's correct.
Of order, I think originally we had said 5.2,
That's
so I
correct.
think based on the language, we said we just approved 5.1, but did not approve. I think we need to, if that's what we want to do, I think we need to take a new vote.
You are absolutely correct.
Motion to reconsider?
Second.
Any opposed to the reconsideration? Okay, hearing none, we'll go ahead and proceed.
Okay. On item 5.1, we're happy to report that in discussion with the board president, we are recommending that Ms. Luann Bynum fill the role of the Executive Vice President, Economic and Resource Development. As the board knows, we've had an Executive Vice President since, I believe, 2001. That position serves as assumes the duties of the Superintendent President. In the absence of the Superintendent President, that position also is responsible for coordinating the activities of the Executive Committee and carrying out duties assigned by the Superintendent President. The previous Executive Vice President was Mr. Don Burrs. Because of Don's situation as a retiree, his Executive Vice President contract was very different. This goes back to the traditional Executive Vice President contract, and it's on the agenda for your approval today.
Okay. Just for point of clarification, this is not a new position in terms of the management structure for the college. It's a promotion, reassignment of an individual, not someone that we're bringing in new.
That's correct. The president, superintendent president, as delegated by the board of trustees, has had the authority to recommend the executive vice president from within the ranks of the vice president. So this is not a new position. This is an existing position that Ms. Bynum has been the vice president for about 12 years, and she will be assuming additional duties as a result of this.
Okay. We need a new motion on this one, 5.1. Can I have a motion, please?
Actually, having reconsidered the previous motion, I just would move approval of the entire consent agenda.
A second, Pat.
Okay. All right, Madam Secretary, you've got the new motion? Okay. Any more discussion on this? Okay. Hearing none, take a vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none. Motion passes. Thank you very much for the discussion and clarification.
Congratulations, Ms. Bynum.
Congratulations. Okay, we are done with the consent agenda. Let's go to the item 8, Academic Senate. No items, no report.
Yeah, no report.
Item number 9.1, President Superintendent report on proposed charter amendment to change the date of the primary and general elections of the city in the city of Long Beach.
Yes, thank you, Board President Uranga. Recently, our previous board president, Mr. Otto, was informed that that there was a move to put a measure on the city ballot, which has been successful. The measure is on the ballot that would change the date of the primary and general elections in the city of Long Beach. And so I've asked Mark Taylor to prepare a report to the board on what that ballot measure would do and what impact it would have on Long Beach City College. I've also asked Vice President Gable to get a legal opinion on what our options would be as a district. So after Mark's report, I will turn that over to Vice President Gable. Mark?
Thank you, President Oakley, Board President Uranga, members of the Board of Trustees. It's my pleasure to provide a very brief report on the status of this. In March of this year, an independent organization prepared an initiative ordinance to amend the Long Beach City Charter and to change the dates of the primary and general municipal elections for the city of Long Beach. Excuse me. In the first week of July of earlier this month, they submitted signatures. Actually, the signatures were submitted in June, and in the beginning of July, those signatures were certified. And so that initiative has qualified and will appear on the November general election ballot for the city of Long Beach. And if passed by a majority of the voters of Long Beach, that would change those municipal voting dates from April and June currently to June, November, and have them coincide with the state primary and general election. That the proposed measure, if passed, will have no impact upon the Long Beach Community College District or the Long Beach Unified School District. Those two boards will still have their elections as currently set forth in Ed Code and local government code. So the fiscal impact, according to City Clerk Larry Herrera, is that would mean that instead of the election cost in April being split 3 ways between the city, Long Beach Unified, and Long Beach Community College District, it would now be split 2 ways between Long Beach Unified and Long Beach Community College District. So the net result of that is about a 50% increase in the expected cost of election, because it would have the city would have to, the cost would be essentially the same as it's been in the past, but instead of splitting that cost 3 ways, because there'd be 3 jurisdictions going out, it would be split equally between Long Beach Unified and between the Long Beach Community College District. So your options, Vice President Gable has a legal opinion on what your options are, but currently, if the voters of Long Beach do vote to change, the impact to the district will be likely an increase in the cost of the elections in the years that we have. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any yes.
For which dates? You're talking about the impact if we were to keep our elections in April?
Right. If our elections remain in April, meaning if the board takes no action to change the likely impact on Long Beach Community College District would be the cost of your April election would increase.
Now, just to clarify what's taking place with the ballot measure in November that proposes to change the election dates, that would be a June primary and a November general election?
Correct.
Okay. Would that mean that if Long Beach City College chooses, and for the district for that matter, but we're talking about us, is there an option that we may consider? Well, there's 3 options I see. Keeping the April election, moving it to June, or moving it to November. Would that be?
Currently, I just want to remind you that it's a proposed,
Right.
it's proposal, and that will require, will be voted upon by the citizens of Long Beach and the voters of Long Beach. So we're not sure how that will happen.
Right.
I've heard not rumors, but one of the sponsors informed me that the polling is very strong, and that it does appear that there's strong support. So if I was going to give you a likely outcome, I would say that the measure is likely to pass, at least currently. Again, that's based only on a single poll number that I've seen. But anyway, as it stands now, it is a measure that will appear on the November ballot, and it does not impact Long Beach Community College District election. The only impact, should it pass currently, would be that our costs are likely to increase. Now, at this point, I think it's probably appropriate to let Anne Marie Gable talk, since she has an advisory opinion on what options would be.
Right, and actually we only have 2 options, not the 3 options. We would have the option of maintaining our elections in the April timeframe, or to change it to November along with the state general election. We could not choose to move it to June with the state primary election, because that would shorten the term of our current trustees that were elected for a 4-year term, so we're not allowed to take any action to shorten those terms. So if we wanted to do nothing, then our elections would stay in April. And as Mark indicated, our election cost would significantly increase because then we're splitting it with just ourselves and Long Beach Unified, and the city is not picking up their share of that cost. If we would like to move it to November, then we have to request what they call a consolidation with the County Board of Supervisors. Our board would need to do a resolution 240 days before our April 2014 election, which would mean before August of 2013. This board would need to do a resolution requesting the County Board of Supervisors to allow us to consolidate our election along with the state's general election in November. What we've heard is that the county is not always willing to allow consolidations, and they do have that opportunity to disallow it. They have 60 days from the date that we submit our request to the County Board of Supervisors for them to act on it. So if they don't act and tell us that they've disallowed it within 60 days, then by virtue of no action, it is approved.
Dr. Clark?
Yeah, if we move to June, is the only penalty that we lose a month of our term?
Legally,
we just added 2 months to our term recently.
Legally, we are not allowed to shorten a term, so that's not even a legal option for us.
You can lengthen it.
You can lengthen it, yes.
Can't shorten it.
Correct.
Actually, pass this rule.
Actually,
I didn't vote for it.
Trustee Bowen?
I don't follow, because if we're, I don't see why that would shorten the terms, because we just swore in our 2 members now, and it's July. If we had the election in June, we could still have.
It's us.
It's
our cycle.
the election, our next election is scheduled for April 2014. You have to notify the county a minimum of 240 days in advance of your election that you would like to consolidate. Since the initiative isn't going forward to the voters of Long Beach until November of 2012, and if we wanted to move it to June, you don't have enough time to move it to June, and you would be shortening our 3 members, the 3 that are up in October or 2014, you would be shortening their terms less than the 4 years.
Trustee Otto?
And am I correct that elections, what we've budgeted for an election is approximately $400,000?
That's what we typically budget for when there's 2 trustees up. When there's 3 trustees up, the cost is more. If the trustees run unopposed, as they did this year, our election costs were just under $200,000 for the election that just occurred this past April. So I would expect that in April of 2014, since we have 3 trustees running, our election costs could be up to $600,000. If the city still has their elections in April.
The number I was trying to get to was if it usually costs $400,000 for an election, approximately, then we anticipate a 50% increase if the city moves its date, so a couple $100,000.
Right.
And I am curious about your statement that this last election cost $200,000. There was one election. There was, there was one.
One trustee area.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's about $200,000 per trustee area?
With the city sharing the cost, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Trustee Clark?
Yeah, we have the elections in April, but we didn't swear into May. Now we swear into July. Does the term start the day you're elected or the day that you're sworn in?
The day that you're sworn in.
Okay, so we could, if we have the election in June, we could swear in July.
No, because
It's the term you served.
it's the term that you serve.
Term that you serve.
Yes. I can forward the legal opinion to you if you would like.
Yeah, but you said that we're not in office until we're sworn in.
Next one.
Correct.
Well, Trustee Clark, you were sworn in back 2 years ago in April, or in June.
May.
No, in May.
In May.
May, excuse me, in May.
That starts.
So if we did it this way, you would lose, your term would be shortened.
Well, if we can lengthen a term, we can shorten a term if we're going to save $200,000.
Unfortunately, the law doesn't allow us to shorten the term of locally elected officials.
We don't start until we're, okay.
Trustee Kellogg?
The reasoning I cannot
Well, interesting, because it really doesn't have anything to do with the operation of how the college is going to go, but nonetheless, it's always intriguing. Mark, because it's politics, but Mark, this has qualified for the ballot in Long Beach, obviously.
Right.
And you say, so this was an initiative effort, so there was, how many signatures were generated? Because this was very much below the radar screen as far as, I think a lot of us are very politically attuned to events, but this was a signature gathering process of people sitting outside of every grocery store and getting signatures, I'm going to assume. So how many? My question is, what do you even know? And did I put you on the spot on that? I don't know. All I know is what it used to be to run for the city council, you needed to have 20 qualified registered voters. I don't know what it is for initiative process. The reason I'm asking that is because I thought it was a city council action, but now it's
an independent group that filed the intent to collect signatures. My understanding is they had to file more than 10% of the registered voters, which, according to the letter from Larry Herrera, there are 200. At the time of the letter, there were 218,514. So my understanding is that they submitted in excess of 10%. I don't know off the top of my head. The letter I have doesn't have the number of signatures that were certified.
I think there were 30,000.
Yeah, they were well in excess of the 10% threshold that was required, which is how they qualified. So,
okay. We're sort of standing on the sidelines watching this take place. You feel, unfortunately, you do feel like a spectator here because the reality is we are in many ways. And the reality is that there's only certain groups involved in the political process that would even get involved in something like this. And the fact that they can consolidate, whoever you want to say they identified at, but consolidated election in November allows you to mass your forces in a more concentrated effort, and you can do it more because it's economy of scale. You take all the elections that are spread out. So I'm sure there was some thought process not directed towards the community college or the K-12 system, but more towards the Long Beach City Council. How can we better be actively involved and influence that election? And we're getting picked up in the wash, so to speak. Because when I first heard about this, and I have to tell you, my disappointment was when I heard about it, it was more reading in the Press Telegram, and I'm not disappointed that the Press Telegram covers anything, but because they rarely do now locally. But nonetheless, that's where I first heard about it, and I was very upset because it appeared it was a council-driven action that we were given absolutely no contact or information about. So, I don't know what our options are that it's going to move forward. I personally, it's my own personal opinion, and it's only because of how I feel about local elections, is that anytime you're tied up into the national scene, the fact is most people get excited when you talk to them about the President of the United States or issues of national significance, or even on a very large statewide level. And what I always found personally about having a local election in those months of April or June is that the local population we're focused on, whether it be a local city council or the K-12 or the community college, because it just gives us a platform to have discussion and communicate, and it becomes much more challenging when you are in an election of a national perspective. So the tough thing is what you already said. It puts us in a horrible bind because, once again, it's about money. And that's what's going to come back to us about, well, are we going to spend more money to keep it in a different time? that puts us in a very difficult situation, obviously. I'm disappointed that we really didn't have any involvement in this, but I understand why. And I can only sit there and hope that people look at it, but I think you're absolutely correct. When you have an organization that spends the time and energy and money to get this on the ballot, well, it's not directly, but I always tell people that's why we're building bullet trains in this state, because you have special interests who put on the ballot what they want to get what they want, and here we have a little microcosm of that. I just think it's going to be disappointing, and it's also, which doesn't matter, but it's going to cost a lot more to run these small local elections because you have a larger voter base. Political science 101. Again, it's not the problems of the voters, but I just think it takes away the platform for local politics to really stand out and have a discussion and hear the issues. And I think that's unfortunate. It's lost, but after hearing it, I was more upset at the council. But in all fairness, they didn't have a choice. I disagree with people that want to move it to November because they believe, final point, that this is going to be a better way to get voter turnout. I have to tell you, since I was elected in 1988, I have seen more ways of people, if we do it this particular way, we're going to get a much better voter turnout. I've heard from vote by mail, state of Oregon, different ways of different things to get people interested, and we are always doing this. And here's another example, but I understand now hearing about why the motivation is to do this. It makes sense. If I want to influence an election, this is a good way, and if I have the mass of volunteers and the money, it's a smart political move, but I think it's at the expense of local elections and visibility. But as you said, Mark, we'll see. We're on the sidelines, and I'm disappointed. I'm not happy. I think it doesn't benefit the voters, especially on local elections. But it's not the first time I've seen a change, and I'm sure someone else will come up with another great idea in the future. That will be how we can get voters to vote.
Dr. Clark.
Yeah, then if this would pass in November, we wouldn't have an election on this until 2014.
Correct. Our next elections currently are slated for April of 2014. So if it passes in November of 12, we would need to make a decision prior to August of 2013 if we want to request consolidation of the county or if we want to stay with the April election date.
So we have a lot of time.
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, this is an informative item. I appreciate the...
Mr. President, our student trustee wanted to say something.
Our voter turnout in Long Beach hovers between 8 and 12%, depending on what district you're in. And there's a strong correlation between income and ethnic makeup of the district and voter turnout. I really think it could only benefit us to move our elections to November. But
Well, as I indicated, this is an informative item. I'm sure that Mark is going to be tracking this as we move forward. And we'll know on Wednesday, November 3rd, as to what kind of action, if any, we will need to take as the community college district.
The other thing I'll try and do in that meantime is I'll coordinate with Long Beach Unified and see if I can get an understanding of how they plan to speak as well. Because it would be good probably make sense for us to know at least what they're doing.
Yeah.
Since they're in the same, they will find themselves in the same situation.
Well, the preliminary discussions that I've heard and that I've read, actually, because it was reported by the Press Telegram, is that there is opposition by the Long Beach Unified School District to that referendum. They will be opposing it. But then again, can't believe everything you read. Yeah. So we'll thank you for offering that, because I think it would be important. We should know what our brother sister organization board is thinking about in this respect. Thank you, Mark, for the report.
By the way, I'm sorry. And also, I believe there was some discussion with the community, with the city college. There was a difference in opinion on some of the council members of what we read in the press telegram on the coverage. So, I mean, regardless, that doesn't, I mean, it's not just something that everyone is fully behind, but we'll see.
Yes, there have been many different views expressed.
Yeah. Okay. Moving on to item 9.2, 2012 accountability report, reporting for the community colleges ARC data.
As part of our annual obligation, we're required to report to the board the ARC data, the accountability reporting for community colleges for 2012, and to do that is Dr. Eva Bagg. Eva, it's all yours.
Thank you, President Oakley, Board President Uranga, members of the board, and the executive team. I realize that you've all been in meetings essentially all day, so I'll do my very best to make this swift, but please do stop me if you have questions at any point. As President Oakley mentioned, this is our annual obligation. Legislation, the Assembly Bill 1417, basically initiated the ARC report, and we are required to report it to the Board of Trustees. You'll recall that the performance framework includes 7 different indicators that were developed by the Research and Planning Group of California. We are now in our 5th year of reporting, so that's what we're going to see, the 2012 ARC data. So as a reminder, the performance indicators are grouped into 3 different categories: degree, certificate, and transfer, workforce development, and basic skills, ESL, and our enhanced non-credit. So I'm going to go through each of these briefly and show the most recent results. The first indicator, remember, our student progress and achievement rate. Again, as a reminder of the methodology, when we're looking at this particular indicator, we start with a cohort of students. We're looking at the first-time students, and it's a cohort, a subset of that group as well. So it's only those students who have completed 12 units in any degree, transfer, or advanced vocational course within their 6 years at the college. And progress and achievement of an outcome, we're looking at 5 potential outcomes. If a student earns any one of those, and some of our students earn multiple outcomes within the given period, then they count towards this, this rate of achievement. So a student could complete any one of the following: transfer to a 4-year institution, earn an associate's degree, earn a certificate, and we're looking only at Chancellor Office approved certificates, 18 units or above. Or they can complete what we refer to as being transfer directed, and that means that they complete both transfer level math and English, or they can become transfer prepared. That is completing 60 UC or CSU transfer units with a minimum of a 2.0 GPO. So that is, they enter and first-time students, and then within 6 years, that's when we count to see how many students have completed any one of those 5 outcomes. Yes, Board President?
In the bullet 4, transfer directed status, just those 2 classes would initiate this reporting?
That counts as one outcome. So basically, you might have some students who are only, they're reaching transfer directed status. They would be included in that cohort of students, along with other students who completed a degree or transfer. Some students complete associate's degree and transfer. Some it's just one or the other. But those others are included as well as included in the cohort of achieving a meaningful outcome.
Okay. And what is the reasoning behind 6 years in the community college system?
That's just typically the amount of period of time where we can capture a meaningful number. And as we know, a lot of our students go part-time. So you'll see the results, and typically after that period of time, we see the numbers really are dropping off. So through experience, we find that that's a meaningful measure. We also look at transfer at different increments of time. 3 years is the typical one, but this is what was agreed upon by a group of researchers in the state of California, and it provides consistency across the colleges in reporting. So as you recall, the format of this ARC report, basically we provide a trend line. So you're looking at 3 cohorts. So the earliest one, that these are students who started in 2003-04 and completed any one of the outcomes within 6 years. So we're really focusing on the most recent cohort, that is those students who started in 2005-06 and completed in 2010-11. So here we find that 45% of those first-time students, defined the way that we did, completed any one of those 5 outcomes. Our peer group average was above that, 49.9%, the statewide average, 52.5%. So this pattern is typical what we've seen in previous reporting years. And just to remind you, give you a sense of the numbers of students we're talking about. So this cohort of first-time students for the 2005-06 year, there were just under 2,500 students in the cohort, just over 1,100 achieving any one of those outcomes within the 6 years. And just to give you a sense of the percentage of that, of all first-time entering students, roughly in any academic year, we've got about 8,000 students. So that's less than 30% who are demonstrating an intent to complete. That is with a 12-unit, taking a transfer level course. So that's an important issue that the college has been attending to. Promise Pathways was really looking at this as part of our focus on educational plans and prescribed coursework. It's helping students to get clearer about their educational goals. So that's one of the ways we're addressing that. Looking at the same indicator here, we break these out by ethnicity. Again, this is not atypical from what you've seen in years past. We are still looking at closing an achievement gap, especially for our African American and Hispanic students. College-wide, we're relatively flat. You see the white students have gone up a little bit in the most recent cohort, which is the green bar. Our Hispanic students took a dip in the last reporting period and went back up, but it's concerning our African American students. We're seeing a decline over the last 3 cohorts. So it's something for us to keep an eye on with all of our initiatives. And as you know, our educational master plan has equity as one of its main goals. Looking at the same outcome by ethnicity and gender, got that here. You can see just slightly better performance for our female students than male students, and that is pretty much across the board. And now this is a graph or pie chart showing really all of the different 5 outcomes that I introduced at the beginning of this measure. So here you can see that big gold section. This is what we want to shrink. These are students who didn't achieve any one of those 5 outcomes. The blue section, those are the transfers, so there were just under 600 students who transferred. An associate's degree, 6% of the students in that cohort. Transfer prepared, 9%. Certificates, 2%. And the transfer directed, 4%. And here I'm just providing, and I won't go through all of these, but basically, here are the numbers behind the percentages. Sometimes percentages can be a little misleading if you don't get a sense of the number of students we're talking about. But if you look at the bottom row, here again, this is just telling you on the left-hand side, the number of students who achieved any one of those outcomes, just over 1,100. And that's where, if you shift over the percentage, that's your 45%. And for each of the ethnic groups, you can see the numbers of students in total that achieved an outcome. So once again, we're working on closing the ethnic gaps. And I think it's worth noting, especially for the transfer outcome, we have some room to close that gap. Moving on to the next outcome measure. Students who earned at least 30 units, again, we have that first-time student cohort who've shown a behavioral intent to complete. If they've earned 30 units, again, within 6 years of entry, then we count them part of this rate. So here you can see the trend line, a slight improvement over time, but still slightly below our peer group average, but above the state average. Here's that same measure broken out by ethnicity. The gap isn't as pronounced for this particular measure. And by gender, again, it's pretty even. The next outcome measure, this is persistence, going from one fall term to the next fall term. And the cohort group, we're looking again at first-time students, but for this measure, they only need to have earned 6 units in the first fall term, so they would have been part-time. And then we're looking at their persistence to the next fall semester. So just again, give you a sense of the number of students within this particular group, just under 3,500 for the most recent cohort, fall 2009, and those who advanced to fall 2010, there were just over 2,400. So that's where we get the 68.6% who persisted. Again, it's fairly flat for ourselves over time, just slightly below our peer average and just slightly above the state average on that measure. And then broken out by ethnicity. Again, the gap by ethnic group isn't as pronounced for this particular measure. The same for gender. Next measure, vocational course completion rate. So these are our vocational courses, and basically what we're saying with this is any student who was enrolled in the class, stayed in the class until 20% into the course, that is at census, who at the end of the term passed the class. So you can see an improvement over time. For Long Beach City College, we're just below our peer group average and below the state average by a little bit. On this particular measure, you can see African American students, especially, and Hispanic students. We see an achievement gap on this particular outcome. Again, this is something for us to keep in mind in our vocational programs. And broken out by gender. So on this particular one, the pattern college-wide for females who perform better is flipped, where we see males performing slightly better, except in the case of our African American students. Females have performed slightly better. Next outcome, basic skills course completion rate. These are our credit basic skills courses, and once again, we're just looking course by course and whether or not the students have completed with a passing grade. And I'm happy to report this is the indicator that we showed the strongest gains for this reporting period. So you can see we've jumped quite significantly to 60.5%, still just below our peer group average and the state average, but we're really seeing improvements here. And I think if you think about the work that we've done with the success centers, I think that this is what's being reflected here in large part. Here's looking at that measure by ethnic group. Again, we have concerns for gaps in achievement. However, we do see improvement across the board, slight improvement, so that's promising. And looking at the same measure by gender and ethnicity.
Eva?
Yes.
There seems to be a consistent pattern here, especially among African American students, consistently low, below everyone else. There's a growing concern about our African American students, not only here, obviously, but nationally as well. There's seems to be a trend nationally with the achievement, success achievement of African Americans. Yeah, I wish I had an answer, but maybe you, in your crystal ball, but can you at least maybe give us some kind of indicators as to why we have this kind of achievement gap in the African American community?
Well, it's not my
I know
area.
I know it's a big question. But
Right. I mean, that's I think there's been multiple types of solutions throughout the nation, and we've been working on this a lot throughout the nation. What I can speak to you about is what we're trying to do locally, at least starting the conversation, I think, to be more open in addressing these issues head on. So some of the things that have happened recently in the spring term, I know that our staff equity committee had basically sponsored a survey that was sent out to all full-time and part-time faculty, actually, and staff as well, really addressing issues of diversity and tapping into the thinking about the process of learning and the capacities that are brought forward by different groups of student learners. So in my mind, when we talk about the results coming up in fall, I think that's going to be an opportunity for us to talk about these things, I think, a little more openly and start to find local solutions to what we do with this challenge and start to engage additional groups. Also, we're having in fall a diversity conference where I'm very pleased to hear that a lot of the sessions are designed to help provide faculty the opportunity to talk about, to bring forward their experiences of students of difference in their classrooms and can share amongst each other what they experience and what they find is working better so that they can share those practices with other faculty members. So I think it's raising the dialogue is happening now, and I think that's certainly a start.
Thank you.
This is another measure of our performance in our pre-collegiate area. So for both basic skills and ESL, we talk about an improvement rate, which is here, it's really looking at progress within a sequence of basic skills in math and English and also in ESL. So we're starting with students who are at least 2 levels or more below the transfer level in those disciplines. And if a student who passed that course initially went on within 3 years at the college and successfully completed a course at the next level, then we count them as part of the rate of improvement. Sorry. So for basic skills, you can see that, again, we are showing improvement in this area, students advancing through the sequence of basic skills. And we're above peer group and state averages. ESL, we're seeing consistent improvements as well, even though we're still below the peer and state average. So I know this was concerned before. We've modified at the state level, there were modifications to the coding of that particular measure, but we're seeing notable improvements for both of those measures. And that particular set of data, we don't have access to ethnicity and gender, so that's why I'm not presenting it here. So just highlights, again, just reminding you from that first slide, just when we're talking about the cohort of students that we're looking at and how small the percentage that we were able to look at was because of their completion of those 12 units of degree applicable credit transfer level courses. And that's a big indicator that we need to help students get clear on their educational goals and get focused on completing those early on. We're still struggling with our student progress and achievement rate below 50%. And I think we're going to soon be seeing changes with that. You think about our transfer degrees from SB 1440. Also think about that outcome of transfer directed completion of transfer level math and English. You saw this morning that movement of students from promised pathways, and there's a good number of those students who are going to be completing within their first year. So we're going to see some major changes to that very soon, which is very encouraging. And the good news, again, is with our basic skills, we are seeing improvements in those areas as well, and I think that's due to the success agenda that we've had the last few years. Again, as you've highlighted, the performance gaps across ethnic groups is still persistent for us and something we need to keep focusing our energies on and really developing strategies for making changes. And also, those ethnic gaps appear in vocational areas. Again, it's just something to look for opportunities to focus on how to close those gaps.
Okay, we're at the point of discussion. Any comments, questions from my colleagues on the board? Okay, well, thank you, Eva, for a very informative report, and let's see if next year, now that we got our new programs in place, we have significant difference, improvement. Thank you. Okay, we are now at the President Superintendent's report.
Yes, thank you, Board President Uranga. I will be brief. First of all, again, I want to thank Dr. Bagg and the Student Success Committee and everyone involved in identifying the challenges and looking at interventions to improve our numbers. I think there are, as Eva mentioned, some good indicators. The intent to demonstrate an intent to transfer or to choose an educational goal will be significantly helped by Promised Pathways as well as SP 1440. The slight increase in students earning 30 units or more, that again, that's an indicator that will be helped by Promised Pathways as we develop prescriptive pathways for those students. And again, the increase in basic skills completion achievement, that is certainly credit to our Student Success Committee and the work that they're doing. A couple other items. First of all, I also want to take an opportunity to thank Janice Thompson for her service as Academic Senate President this last year. We appreciate all of her support and as always, all of her advocacy for the faculty of Long Beach City College. Thank you, Janice, for serving us, and I want to welcome April Juarez, who is not here today, but we will see her the next time around. And then finally, I want to turn it over to Dr. Lowenstein, who will introduce one of our newest deans. Gaither?
Thank you, President Oakley. I'm delighted to introduce our new Dean of the School of Creative Arts and Applied Sciences. Our new dean comes to us from Norco College, where she served as Department Chair for Arts, Humanities, and World Language. She also served as the Chair of the College Curriculum Committee. And under her leadership, Norco College had a number of new state-approved certificate programs approved in commercial music and computer gaming, including the only game audio program in the state of California. So we are looking forward to her providing energetic and visionary leadership to our School of Creative Arts and Applied Sciences. And please stand and welcome Dina Humble.
Welcome, Dina. And if you didn't hear already, you should have memorized the alma mater by now, because you will be asked to sing it from time to time.
She's a trained concert soprano.
Perfect.
Is that part of the hazing process of new employees?
She's replacing Dr. Scott, so that's
definitely.
her job now.
That's right, graduation. Yeah, we'll hear.
And she actually knows how to sing. So.
Big shoes.
Thank you, Superintendent President Oakley. Now, item 11, Student Support Services. I have no report, no items. None? Okay. Administrative Services, keeping us on track and on budget. Anne Marie.
Yes. Sorry. The first item is basically a resolution with the state of California so that we can participate in the state preschool program.
Okay, this is an action item. Can I have a motion and a second? Okay, any discussion? Vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, motion passes. Item 1213.
Yes, and again, this is another resolution that is required so that we can participate in the General Child Care Grant with the California Department of Education.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Take a vote. Any discussion, by the way? No? Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none. Motion passes. Item 1214.
Item 1214 is the request for the board to award the design build services to Balfour Beatty Construction Company to build our new student services building at PCC. So this would be the complete tear down and replacement of the GG building at the Pacific Coast campus. We did this as a design build. We had several vendors qualify for this. We narrowed it down to 3 who submitted very extensive proposals. Each of those 3 were scored and rated, and the ultimate highest score was given to Balfour Beatty. So we're asking for approval to go ahead and award that contract.
Move approval.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
The question, is that unusual, the price of the difference between the first, second, and third bid? It was, I mean, fairly close, I would assume. It was but it's $1 million nonetheless. But is that typical about what you see in design build?
See more varied prices within design build. I will say that the CW driver product had inferior construction. It was basically stucco, which has a poor, lifetime maintenance with the stucco, whereas Balfour Beatty is going to be pour in place concrete walls, and so you have a much more superior construction of the building that's going to be easier to maintain over the time frame. So I think just that difference alone was kind of one of the cost differentials between the lowest and the second lowest.
And just so I know, when you say that about the difference with stucco material, but we hire an architect to design. Part of this design build is they are not designing the building, or are they designing?
No, they
the
are.
building?
That's the difference with the design build, is you're hiring the architect and construction firm as a team. So it's different from the traditional method where we hire the architect designs it, and then we bid it. So this is where it's the entire design team, the contractor and the architect are together as a team, and they're the ones that come up with the design and the drawing. And that's where, we get a lot more out of it. We have a lot more input up front with it. It's a very extensive, as I said, process. We started out with 16. We narrowed that down to 5 firms that were interviewed, that came out with all of their engineers, with their architects, with their contractors, with all of their specialists, to meet with us, tell us what their plan was, and then they narrowed that down to the 3 firms. The 3 firms, we have almost working drawings from the design build process.
So the architect, though, as I looked in there, for example, one of the unsuccessful bidders, I did not see a name of an architect. So is the architect tucked into that organization? Or because usually
Correct.
You like to see which architect they have. Is that what happened in this process? And I apologize, the winning bid, if one of those names mentioned is an architect, I don't deal with all the architects of the world, but if I ask the question, so who was the successful architect?
The architect is a subcontractor of the construction firm, and I apologize, I don't remember who the architect is for this particular, for Balfour Beatty.
If I recall correctly,
There you go.
if I recall correctly, wasn't the parking structure built the same way?
Yes, the parking structure was our first envoy into the design build process. It went very well. We like that process much better. We have also awarded the math technology building under the design build contract, and so that one, we're almost done with the preliminary plans, and that should be going to DSA relatively soon so that we can start construction on that particular project in 2013. So this is our 3rd design build project that we're bringing forward to you.
Very good. I'm glad to see design build.
Thank you, Anne Marie. Any further discussion on this item? Okay, take a vote. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, motion passes. Item 1215.
Yes, item 1215, this is really so that we can establish a fund with the county treasurer and the county office of education to enable our auxiliary, which as we know is a separate 501c3, but to give them the opportunity to invest any of their excess funds in the county treasury so that they can earn the interest there at the county treasury rather than keeping their money at a local bank. You may get a slightly higher rate with the county treasury. So this is really the County Office of Education requires a resolution by our district's board in order to establish what they consider a new fund. And so that's what this action is requesting.
Okay, a motion, please.
So moved.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yes, an issue that Anne Marie didn't mention in introducing this is something that came up at the last meeting that I see here, that this is about the Long Beach City College Auxiliary contracting with Barnes & Noble for the running of our bookstore. It was just an informative item at the last meeting, but I expressed my reservations then, and I would repeat them now, about the issue of contracting out of services whenever any public body does that. The idea of people whose jobs are secure, as well as their salaries when they work with us, are not necessarily so when their jobs are subject to a private contractor, a private for-profit contractor. And I understand some of the reassurances that were given that the people that currently work in the bookstore will have their jobs safe, but especially after some of the stuff that was said at our retreat this morning about, what are we going to do after November, if the ballot measure doesn't pass, how we have to restructure, and the other kinds of things that we will have to talk about contracting out to save money. Even if this particular matter is not a threat to anyone's job, I'm not comfortable with this being a precedent for us to set at this time of contracting out of any of our services. And for that matter, for that reason, I can't support this at this time.
I think we discussed this at the last board meeting, and if I recall correctly, and Anne Marie, please correct me, these were not our employees to begin with, were they not?
Correct.
Yeah.
Right. The Long Beach Community College Auxiliary Incorporated is a complete, separate, distinct organization from the Long Beach Community College District. The Long Beach Community College District, this Board of Trustees, has no authority over the auxiliary. It's basically a separate business entirely, that this board has no authority.
Why do we have control over this fund if we aren't responsible for them?
What we are doing is allowing the auxiliary to invest their money with the county treasury under the district's guidelines. The county treasury would not allow the auxiliary to invest their money with them, and so that's why we needed the action, is to establish this fund for the auxiliary to put their money as an investment vehicle with the county treasury, is all that this is doing.
So in summary, this is not about employees, this is about the transfer of monies into another account.
Correct.
Okay.
And you're saying that the decision, they're not separate from us, they're separate from us in the case of making the decision to contract out, but not in the decision to set up this fund? That's what we have to do?
Yeah, all this is doing is giving the auxiliary an opportunity to invest with the county treasury. If we did not do this, then the auxiliary could not invest any of their money in the county treasury.
President Superintendent Oakley?
Yes, right now, the auxiliary, as it has for many, many years, puts their money in a bank account, whether it be Farmers and Merchants or Bank of America. The county treasury requires this board to take action to allow them to now use the county treasury. to put their money. Essentially, the county treasury is acting as the bank for the auxiliary, but they can't go directly to the county treasury. They have to go through us to get to the county treasury. And we believe, and I think Anne Marie is correct, that the auxiliary would be able to earn a better return on their money with the county treasury than with a local bank. Second part of this is that money stays within the auxiliary. So the more interest that is earned, the more money can go back to providing enhanced services for the students. The students sit on the board of the auxiliary and help direct how funds are used, who we contract with. So before Barnes & Noble, we essentially had a separate group of employees that were employed by the auxiliary running the bookstore. The only difference now is that there is a contract with Barnes & Noble to run the bookstore rather than with auxiliary services or I forget what they were called, like enterprise services.
Yeah, several years ago, it used to be ASB Enterprises, and then the ASB split, and it became the LBCC Auxiliary, Inc.
But the point is the auxiliary, the decision to make this contract with Barnes & Noble was made by the auxiliary, and
Yes.
we don't have a say in that? That's,
No, they have a separate board. They are they have articles of incorporation. It's their responsibility. Now, certainly as a district, we are represented on that board. So I believe Anne Marie sits on that board. We have faculty on that board. We have students on that board.
Right, it's a 7-member board. There's 3 administrators, myself, Dr. Greg Peterson, and Connie Sears. The faculty representative is Jerry Florence, and then we have 3 student representatives that each year we have new student representatives. One that's appointed by the ASB, and then one that, or 2 that are appointed by the board, one of them that represents LAC and one that represents PCC. So it is a 7-member board that makes the decisions of everything related to the auxiliary in accordance with the board's bylaws and articles of incorporation.
okay, well, I'll withdraw my objection then.
Thank you. Okay, any further discussion on this item? Okay, this is an action item. I need we got the motion, we got the second. Call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, motion passes. Item 1216 is an informative item. Revised District Administrative Regulations 6006, Computer Telecommunications and Classroom Technology Use. If I recall reading it, it's basically an agreement saying that that equipment that is assigned by the college belongs to the college, and any information that is used through it is the property of the college.
Yes, and it's a complete, full computer usage agreement, letting employees know that, they shouldn't be doing illegal, that they need to abide by the district's guidelines and use the equipment for district purposes. This is the short summary of what the resolution says in 9 pages.
Is there a signing a page that employee signs an agreement to it that goes into a file?
Yes, when employees are hired, they are requested to sign that they have received and agree to abide by the computer usage policy. And in addition, when every day when employees log on to the computer, there is a short statement that comes up, and the employees have to acknowledge that they agree with the terms and conditions of this regulation in order to use the computers.
Okay, again, this was an informative item. Thank you for the clarification. Item 13, Pacific Coast Campus. No items, no report. Okay. Item 14, Economic and Research Development. Got an extensive report this morning. Thank you very much. Academic Senate.
Yes, thank you. President Uranga and members of the board, In your board notebook, there's a page announcing the retirement of Patrice Casca. She's listed as an instructional specialist, but many of Patrice's contributions to LBCC faculty and students are not listed. Patrice was the chair of our curriculum committee and also the chair of our policy and standards committee. She served for many years on the Senate Executive Committee and on the Senate. Patrice wrote and revised many policies and regulations for the curriculum committee, and one of her largest contributions was the policy and regulation on program establishment, modification, and discontinuance. Patrice is so intelligent and thorough and would never let a detail be left undone. She was a reluctant leader. I can remember her saying to the curriculum committee meetings she was chairing, "I know you don't want to think about this regulation on program discontinuance, but it's something that needs to be done." She was so right. Patrice gave great help and hope to students who needed it most. She was a faculty member of the Basic Adult Education Department and the Disabled Student Services Department. She helped many move forward with their lives and with their careers. I'd like to speak for you for another moment about Amit Chtai, Director of Instructional Technology and Distance Learning, who passed away last week. Amit's commitment to education was large and it was deep. He had visions, he had standards, and he had tenacity. When Amit first came to LBCC in 1995, he ran a summer class on computer-enhanced learning. I remember five of us showed up, and we sat in a small circle with Amit and 2 old computers close by. He opened us up to a world of computer-based education. I was working on an online mineral identification system. Another faculty member was working on turning the journals of Lewis and Clark into an online program. Amit listened to us about the curriculum we wanted to develop, had ideas for all of us, and the possibilities were unlimited. In the years that followed, Amit's skills and talents went far beyond our small circle of 5. He was always willing to use his talents and skills to help faculty take their ideas and craft distance learning classes into reality. Many faculty cannot picture our distance learning program being led by anyone except Amit. I know he still will be leading us in all that he instilled in us, his creativity, his intellect, and his determination. Thank you.
Thank you. And I want to also extend my congratulations to you on your service on this board for the past year. You've always been a welcome face when we come to board meetings. Thank you.
Very much.
Trustee communications. Any trustee communications at this time? Okay, no. Okay, Trustee Otto.
Just very quickly, 2 weeks ago, I attended the Board of Governors meeting in Sacramento as a member of the CCC board, and stayed for the day and a half of the meeting, and it was quite instructive. Thanks.
Thank you. Any new business? I didn't hear anything new come out of this meeting today. Future reports. If I recall correctly, we did have some the last time, but we'll talk about that later when we meet the next time. Public comments on non-agenda items. Madam Secretary, do we have anything? None today. Okay. President Superintendent Eloy Oakley.
Yes, as Janice mentioned, we lost a very good friend of the college and an outstanding colleague in Amit. So I ask Board President if we can adjourn in his honor.
Absolutely. Having no other second session and no other items on the agenda, this meeting is adjourned in the memory of Amit. Thank you.